So basically, they're coming after your land and they're going to start 15-minute cities. And their slogan is just transition. Where did that come from? Well, it comes from a group called the C-40. Cities 40. They are trying to make certain cities, almost all major cities in the world, 15-minute cities. And for us rural folks, they have planned to land grab. How will they do this? They are starting to make changes in our land use bylaws without our knowledge, without any votes or anything. This is a time to get involved because they have not passed this yet and they want to pass it September this year. Everybody in rural communities, everyone in large cities, start calling your mayors, start calling your MLAs and asking them what are the changes that they want to make to the land use bylaws so that we know, because this is what they're going to put in there. They're going to make slight changes that don't really make sense, but you will have to watch that in case of emergencies or lockdowns or climate lockdowns, what are they allowed to do to your land? Those of you who think that this is a conspiracy theory, this is already happening in the Netherlands with the farm protests. And those of you who really think that we're out to lunch, remember 2020 when you were just touting, oh, it's only 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Yeah, how did that work out? And then remember when you were saying it's safe and effective? Yeah. How are those like side effects that you don't want to talk about going? Exactly. So basically, this isn't the first time they have attempted to do this. I was at the protests when the NDP tried to do a land grab with the Y2Y group. Who's the Y2Y group? Well, they're called the Yukon to Yellowstone group. And they were saying that it was for caribou migration and that we needed to save that land and kick off all the farmers that were basically in that category of land. But you know what's really funny? That's exactly where the biggest oil reserves are in North America. So was the NDP really trying to save the caribou, or were they trying to get the oil companies to not go in and drill so that they could make a false energy crisis so that they could actually expedite this? So I need everybody to call your MLAs, call your mayors, and actually ask them, what are these changes? Then we need to start educating people. Like, repost this, make your own videos, tag me in it. We need to start discussing what are these changes that they're trying to do behind our backs. Those of you who think I'm lying, here are some receipts. I will also put this on my Twitter, and I will try and make a longer Rumble video where I explain all of this in detail. There it is, C-40 cities, green and just transition. They even have a playbook so that you can get your youth going. You know, Greta Thunberg and so forth. Hey, Texas, your mayor's in on this. And this is basically the goals that they're trying to reach. We're very cool, right? Except they will actually need to maybe cut out your ability to drive. And Don Iveson, mayor of Edmonton, liberal, go figure, he was part of this. And if you think this is a conspiracy theory, please look this up.
You lose cash, and this is what we must not let them do. When we lose cash, if we lose cash, and you've only got central bank digital currencies, the computer will know what it is you're trying to do before you even do it, and they will prevent you from doing it. If, for example, they say you can't leave your house more than 5 miles, you try and buy a bottle of water 6 miles from home, you won't be able to. I'm not kidding. That's so many reasons why you should retain cash. It's offensive that the politicians believe that they have a right to all of your information at all times.
As the pretext for why everything collapsed.
Design that NEOM is pioneering. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the rest of the panel in the session.
So when I'm looking at this, it's a grid infrastructure.
Yeah, so basically the way it works is it's 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high. The height is from the sea level, so as you go inwards and the topography actually goes up, then the height of the actual building structure reduces until you get to the mountains where it actually, you no longer have a mirror line. The idea is about what we call zero gravity urbanism, which is not necessarily having to be linked and anchored to a ground. How can we think of cities that go vertical and not only horizontal? This has many benefits. It's 5 minutes walk from all of your needs. Each module is 800 meters wide, and each module will take 80,000 people on average. Obviously, some are going to be more densely populated than others. And when you do it this way, you're only 5 minutes walk away from your school, your hospital, supermarket. The other thing is that the catchment area becomes a lot bigger. The catchment area for businesses becomes an 80,000 catchment area within a 5 minute walk, which, as you can understand, instead of opening many pharmacies or many stores, that one store will service a much bigger catchment area than it typically does in other cities that have, 15, 20,000 people.
I just want to get a coffee, okay?
Why is the camera in my face right now? Are you here partaking?
You walk
right
up
now,
to
you're
me.
in the red zone.
I'm scared. I want to go for a coffee down there. Can I go
where's
for
your
a coffee?
residence, still being arrested right
Do you
now.
live in this?
You're
I
not
don't live
excluded
here,
from that.
but I'm
What do you live?
Alberta.
Time for you to leave.
I can't even go down there for a
No,
coffee.
no, go grab yourself in the red zone right now. If you don't leave right now, you will be arrested. Do you understand me?
I can't go for a coffee.
Grab yourself, because if we see you, we'll be patrolling all day. If we see you again, it'll be different. Leave. I tell you, take your camera and get out of here. Do you understand that? Walk away. Your phone doesn't need to be in our face when you're walking away. Go. Are you going to walk, or are you going to get arrested?
I was
Go.
walking
now.
away.
Get out of here.
Oh my goodness. Hope you can go to sleep at night.
And Agenda 21. And this is Dr. Richard Day again, 1969. Growing food will be banned by saying it isn't safe, and the state and corporations will control all food production. The supply and distribution of food will be monitored so that no one can give food to a fugitive of the system. That's what's unfolding.
Wake up.
Smart lights, smart poles, smart cars, smart neighbourhoods, smart homes and smart appliances, all connected to wireless networks and communicating with each other. So what's wrong with that? Technology is good, isn't it? All this is for your safety, security and convenience, isn't it? Well, let me tell you, your streets are spying on you, your mobile phone is spying on you, your cities are spying on you, and the infrastructure for future lockdowns is being put into place right now. Don't be fooled. You're being set up to be tracked through your movements and through the future of your digital wallets. By handing over your data, you're handing over the ability to monitor your behaviour, which will soon be turned into a social credit score. And once the central bank digital currencies are in place, you won't get to spend your money without approval. Digital ID will soon become a reality in Australia. Many other countries are already rolling these systems out, countries like Canada, Scotland and many others. Eventually, you won't be able to access any government or public services, and you won't be able to travel across borders or access healthcare or the internet without a digital ID. Think you won't comply? I think you will. The last 2 years were the dress rehearsal and we fell for it hook, line and sinker. Australians are sleepwalking into this technocratic future. And while we're sitting around scratching our chins trying to work out whether this is really happening, Australia is drifting towards a dystopian digital future.
We're warning that we are in the eye of the storm. We're being distracted by news like the royal family while the building blocks of technocratic totalitarianism are being set up around us step by step as we speak. Step one of the digital ID is already in place in Australia. They did it through the director's IDs. While AI is scanning your face every time you go in, they are monitoring your facial expressions to see how you interact with the technology around you, with the products, with absolutely everything, with human beings, so that AI can harvest that data about you and build its super Satan computer that's going to work against people. Apart from that, they're pushing the UBIs. Updates from around the world, I can tell you that Australia introduced this idea all the way back in 2016. And then in 2021, the ABC announced with a headline, basic income is considered a radical idea. But in 2020, we lived it and some people want it back. And it's true. Kids are talking about not wanting to work now. I saw an interview on a mainstream media outlet of a kid saying, no, why do I need to work? The government will pay me to stay home. You'll be paid by the globalists to eat bugs in pods, and Bill Gates' patent 060606 will allow your biometric data to help you mine crypto when you do what the globalists want you to do.
It's 99 degrees. You go to set your thermostat, but you're locked out. Governor's orders. You declared an emergency. So you decide, you know what, I'll go take a drive. You go to your electric vehicle, but the screen says no charge available. Car wasn't charging. Sorry, governor's orders. Yeah. So you decide to walk down to the park and just go and get some fresh air. But the checkpoint down there, the tweet was limited. But there's a guy saying, sir, if you want to walk past me, you've got to scan your QR code on your phone. And you're like, I can't. My phone's dead. I can't use the electricity. I'm sorry, sir, with no QR code. And then they tase you, because that's where the electricity goes. Then you go home. Back to your pod, where you grab a bag of crickets to snack on and wait for the temperature to go down.
Yeah, I think that is the future.
You joke, but
that is the future.
If the Democrats and the liberals continue in the path that they're trying to, which is destroying us economically, politically, and militarily, that's actually a real life scenario that could occur.
Yeah. Look at California right now rolling blackouts.
so crazy.
Water Apocalypse 2023. Look at all this. You know, there's water in Coca-Cola as well.
This reset will be a huge shock when Americans catch on. That's why the average person won't hear a word about the story until it's obvious to just about everyone. And by then, it's going to be too late.
Yep.
In the months ahead, central banks around the world are planning to go digital. Many of the legacy banks you've heard of, where you probably even keep your money, like Bank of America, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, they're about to be reset, overhauled by a new type of technology called fintech, which is short for financial technology.
Yeah, can I ask you, what exactly does that mean for the banks and all of us, you and me?
Essentially, it means the function of our banks is about to change. They probably won't raise public suspicion about it by changing the signs on your bank's branches, but according to my sources, the Federal Reserve will soon own all the banks, and your local branch, it's simply going to be like a licensee of the Fed. In other words, the banking infrastructure is being rebuilt from the ground up, and very few Americans are aware this is even happening. We are right on the verge of a once-in-a-generation opportunity to profit by investing in the companies that are building out the architecture for this massive shift.
According to the World Economic Forum website, as of May 2023, 36 countries worldwide will have smart city governance initiatives. Surveillance monitoring, analysis, reporting technology. You'll have a digital ID that will track in real time your shopping, your entertainment, your activities, and your carbon footprint. You'll also have a 15-minute travel limit without a permit. A permit to travel. And if you exceed any of these things, you'll be denied access to daily activities. Obviously, no one would move into one of these cities voluntarily, but they don't have to, because the laws governing Agenda 2030 land development allows the government to seize polluted land and move their residents to these smart cities. If you're living somewhere where your land and water is poisoned, you don't get an option to opt out. Where has land and water been poisoned recently?
Hi everybody. What if I told you by the year 2027 you would need to have a digital ID in order to get online? Would you believe me? Because that's exactly what this is. The Pentagon creates roadmap for zero trust internet access by 2027. TN has examined this topic in detail several times. Ultimately, the only people who will be able to hop on the internet, regardless of the entry point, will first have to be definitively identified. This will require a personal registered ID comparable to an electronic passport. No digital ID. You don't use the internet. Got it? Every activity is tracked, cataloged, and saved. The military is paving the way for this.
So if you're poor and you have a small bank account, it'll be converted one-to-one straight away, and you'll probably even find that you get a free gift from the government to kickstart the system. Maybe £3,000 or £5,000 will be given to every citizen gratuitously to kickstart the system in the new CBDC. But if you have 100,000 or $1 million in the bank, you're going to be told, yes, it's one-to-one, but you're going to have to wait to convert it to the new currency. Now, wait means never. We all know that, but they won't tell you that. They'll say it's a temporary suspension because we're in the middle of a crisis. The people are rioting in the streets and we need to calm the system. So here's some free money, everybody. Go and enjoy yourselves. And by the way, the rich can't convert their money for a while, but they'll be able to do so later. You won't be able to convert those old dollars until you've got the cash. But when you get the cash, you'll need permission to do it. And you're not going to get that permission. It'll be exactly like we had in Britain back before 1975 when we had the exchange controls.
While you were distracted by all this Trump nonsense, President Biden signed his first veto, and you'll never guess the conspiracy theorists are right again. So President Biden celebrated the fact that he used his veto power to strike down a bipartisan bill mainly focused on ESG, environmental, social, and corporate governance laws. Basically, remember what we talked about before, the social credit system, where you're not going to be able to do anything if, say, you post a tweet that the government doesn't like or maybe your bank doesn't like? ESG is specifically focused on those sort of things, especially for corporations. It's the start of a social credit system, and the president, against both the House and the Senate that represent the American people, used his plenary veto power in order to stop the bill. Ask yourself why.
I'm here at this gas station and I was trying to open this door and I could not open it. You see how they're numbered? I was getting something for a video, a natty light I need. So I have to go over to this machine. Have you guys ever seen this before? Look, and you put your ID face down in it and then it takes a picture. It like scans your face, and then you type in the door that you want to open, and then it unlocks the door for you. I have never seen this before.
Smart cities. Check this.
Introducing the new horizon for Riyadh, a new icon, the Muqab, the world's first immersive experiential destination. A gateway to another world. Step inside and it's unlike anything you've ever seen. At a scale that's unprecedented. Big enough to hold 20 Empire State Buildings. Where you and those around you enter a new reality, transporting you to Mars one day and magical worlds the next. Where your retail experience is completely reimagined, and hospitality, leisure, and entertainment reach new levels, all in breathtaking, ever-changing environments. This is the new face of Riyadh. Experience a new horizon.
Design that NEOM is pioneering. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go through the rest of the panel in the session.
So when I'm looking at this, it's a grid infrastructure.
Yeah, so basically the way it works is it's 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high. The height is from the sea level. So as you go inwards and the topography actually goes up, then the height of the actual building structure reduces until you get to the mountains where it actually, you no longer have a mirror line. The idea is about what we call zero gravity urbanism, which is not necessarily having to be linked and anchored to a ground. How can we think of cities that go vertical and not only horizontal? This has many benefits. It's 5 minutes walk from all of your needs. Each module is 800 meters wide, and each module will take 80,000 people on average. Obviously, some are going to be more densely populated than others. And when you do it this way, you're only 5 minutes walk away from your school, your hospital, supermarket. The other thing is that the catchment area becomes a lot bigger. The catchment area for businesses becomes an 80,000 catchment area within a 5 minute walk, which, as you can understand, instead of opening many pharmacies or many stores, that one store will service a much bigger catchment area than it typically does in other cities that have, 15, 20,000 people